at this.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
What a pleasure to be with you today on the show called
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Welcome to episode 2552, 2552. It's good to be with you. I'm Mike, and I do this podcast that I hope you like. If you don't, well then that's a travesty. And all I can ask,
Mike's Daily Podcast,
is that you just put up with this first part, with the singing part. And then you can go listen to your Joe Rogan,
Mike's
or your
Daily
This American Life, or your
Podcast,
ESPN recap of whatever that game was that happened today. And you know, that's fine. That's fine. You go ahead and do that. But I'm going to tell you today was a very momentous day because I finally took down the Christmas decorations. Why is that significant? Since most people probably did that weeks ago, I did it today. And I'm happy about that because last year I kept them up, I think, all the way into May. I was going for a Christmas in July thing. I thought we could go that far. But at the last moment, I said, no, enough. When the temperature goes up into the 80s, it's time to take the Christmas decorations down. No, I took them down before the month of January ended, and this is why. Because I left them up too long last year, and the reason why I left them up too long last year was because I had a very stressful year last year. My company put the stress on me that we were about to do this huge system change. And I knew the bulk of the system change would reside on me. Because I noticed a lot of people weren't picking up the slack. They weren't going to take the reins, as it were. A lot of people were just, oh, you can handle it, Mike. I'm just going to go over here and go on Facebook.
And here's today's podcast picture.
And the podcast picture today is not of Facebook or of my work or of anything else. It is of something else, though. It is of the beautiful sunset of San Leandro, that San Leandro can see. Actually, this was taken from Fairmont Ridge that overlooks San Leandro, but is a beautiful picture of the bay, in the Bay Area. And the late great Basil the Boxer and I used to walk Fairmont Ridge regularly. At least just about 3 times a week, I think it was. And I got to know the Fairmont Ridge walkers walking their dogs really well. In fact, somebody gave a thumbs up on Facebook to one of my posts recently, and he was someone I used to see at Fairmont Ridge all the time. But I was stressed out last year because I knew all this was going to land on top of me. Thankfully, once the project got started, some people, they came to my aid that I worked with. Some people stepped up, and I really appreciate that. And I know that's sort of when people say I appreciate that, it rings as empty as hopes and prayers and any of those expressions, or have a nice day. But really, I did appreciate in a big way what they did. However, last year, the stress was on because every month this loomed over me, and every month it would get kicked. The can would get kicked to the following month. So in December, I thought we were going to do the project in January. In January, I thought we were going to do it in February. And then I would get these little bits of information like, oh, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Are you ready? Are you ready, Mike? Are you ready?
Mike, it's Mikey Fikey. Great.
And that just loomed over me all the way up until it actually happened in June. But while I was worrying about that, suddenly in February, my mom passed away. So then I was like, okay, all you folks at work playing this little game with me, you can go play that game if you want, but I got to deal with my own personal life. I got stuff going on in a big way, and and to their credit, they took the reins, they took care of things. Nobody called me except one guy called me. And I give him grief over it to this day. It's somebody who works for me. And he worked for me. And he texted me with a quick question. Hey, Mike, quick question. With a question he had asked me over and over and over again. And I had responded to his texts and answered his texts so many times. And he asked me the day I was at the funeral place, at the funeral parlor, making arrangements. He texted me out of the blue. And nothing, I mean, there you are dealing with the arrangements of your mother, and somebody just barges in with a ridiculous question they could have answered. And it's a real problem I have with this person, because they just feel like I'm a resource, that I don't have to remember stuff. I can just rely on Mike. And that type of employee can be let's just say, not a very good one. So I other than that, nobody else bugged me. I had the misfortune of checking my emails accidentally, because I had to get one of those things when you're trying to get into some account that you have for something, but they send the password to your work email. The password, I think I forgot a password, so I had to get the code, the code to your email, and unfortunately it was my work email, so I had to open it, and suddenly I'm seeing all these things that I'm like, So all of that to say, when you're dealing with stuff in your real life, like the biggest stuff of your life, work somehow finds a way to intrude. Anyway, I got back, and except for somebody sitting down, closing the door, and talking to me about something, like the day I got back, and it was a ridiculous complaint they had about another employee that I had to deal with because I'm the manager. Everything else went smoothly. That person has since left. Both people have left. The person that complained and the person they were complaining about. So, good things. It was a difficult, let's just say it was a difficult soup with all the ingredients. There was some difficulty with that arrangement, with the melange that I was dealing with a year ago. As we go outside a cafe anyway, where we bring you Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcastro Valley, the last place on earth. What you can pull from all of this, and I'm not going to make a joke about this. This is the real fact of the matter. And that is, when everything is going wrong in your life, you can bet there are going to be people that that you depend on, that throw ridiculous stuff at you right when you don't need it. It's like you're trying to hold all these plates up, keep all these balls in the air because you're juggling with the balls, the juggle balls. You're juggling them, something like that. All these rubber balls are in the air. I'm trying to come up with an analogy. Anyway, and these people that you call your friends end up at that time. They may not even know, or they may not even really be your friends, but they suddenly throw stuff at you that you don't need. And it's like, dude, because I'm a Californian and I can call anybody a dude. Dude, you could have taken care of that. You see what I'm going through? You could have taken care of that. You could have dug through your emails. You could have dug deep into your tolerance side and dealt with it instead of throwing me into it. But that's how it just, if this has never happened to you, where at your moment of need somebody just suddenly threw something out of left field at you, then maybe you have done that to someone else, and just be careful of that. All of that just happened on this podcast. Mike just talked about that on his podcast. because I'm outside a cafe anyway, where it's kind of sprinkling.
This nightmare of a show.
But that happened a year ago to me, and I grew a lot from it. I learned a lot from it. Work, by the way, is wonderful now. I've got a great staff. I work with some people. A lot of people left last year. Thankfully, a lot of people left last year. And some of these people I would call friends, but just they were not in the right place. And I can say that because I picked up a lot of their slack. A lot of what they should have been doing, I was doing for them. Because that's the kind of guy I am. And you got to be careful if that's the kind of guy you are or gal you are. Because that's what some of us people will be overly friendly and overly giving. And in the end, we've given everything that we got. And we're depleted. And we don't want to be that. And sometimes when all that's going on, you got to think about your happy place. What brings you joy? What brings you happiness? Whatever Maria Kondo's talking about. What does that for you? And what your goals are that will make your life better. Something that you want to do. You got to find that all. I'm really self-helpy today. Sorry about this. But I'm just looking at the news that I was going to talk about, and I'm not liking it. So I will say this, as I've said a lot, and that is Disneyland in Anaheim is now listen to the song that I'm going to sing. Disneyland in Anaheim, that's the last place you can go to ride Splash Mountain. It's changed now in Florida. That place is now closed off. They're going to turn that into the Princess and the Frog ride. And it's going to be a great thing. Maybe. I don't know. I don't care. I don't go to Disney anymore. But if I did go to Disney, I don't know if I went to the Disneyland park, if I would be interested. In Florida, so here's something that we have in Florida that we don't have in California, and that is that Mickey Mouse Runaway Train ride. Oh wait, stop. They just opened the Mickey Mouse Runaway Train ride at Disneyland in Anaheim. And I recently watched it. Was up on YouTube. And here's a quick tip for all you people that like to you people that love YouTube. That is, don't click on the stuff that's recommended. I mean, unless you want YouTube to have all your information and your likes and whatever, because they're going to use that and harvest that, whatever. I don't know if that's the worst thing in the world. But if you really want your privacy, you probably shouldn't be on YouTube at all. Definitely don't go on TikTok because your privacy will be completely taken away. Or Instagram or Facebook. But somebody did post, and I found it, because it was recommended to me. What they say is, though, you should just go to the people that you subscribe to and just go through that instead of going to the recommendations. But I went to the recommendations, I'm sorry, and I saw the Mickey Mouse ride in Anaheim. And it is amazing the fact that it is a trackless ride that's becoming more famous, more de rigueur to do, is to make these rides that have no tracks. It's some kind of magnetic thing in the ground. I don't know how it works, but your car just seems to be floating along on its own. And they make they do a perfect job of it. Make use of that concept on the Runaway Train ride, because suddenly the train that you're on, all the cars break apart and go their own way, like the Fleetwood Mac song, R.I.P. Christine McVie. And then you go, at some point you end up, and this is weird, you see Donald Duck for like a split second, he's in a ticket booth. But then you see his wife or girlfriend or whatever, Daisy Duck, and she's in this ballroom, and all the different cars that are separated, they start to dance. And that's a fantastic scene. And the other cool scene is you're going along, and it looks like you're on a river, and suddenly you fall down a waterfall, and they do this all with movie screens. but you're still in the car. That's a fantastic effect that they pull off on that ride, both in Anaheim and Florida. So I'll go with that. But the problem is, and Justin Scared, is that the guy that does Random Land? He pointed it out perfectly. And I watched his thing about the closing of Splash Mountain in Florida. And all I can say is that guy spends too much time. He's got too much energy. And I know he's pushing 40. He ain't exactly 40 yet. He can't be. But I know he's got a kid. And I know that he's got way too much energy because he spent the whole day in all the Walt Disney parks yesterday, or recently. It was his last video, where he went to the Wild Animal Park with the Disney place with all the animals, and they got that Yeti ride, and he spent the whole day there. And then he's thinking about leaving and going home and go back to his hotel because he's going to fly back to California the next day. And he goes, I'll go over to the Disney Hollywood Studios. And then he went on some rides there, and then he went to Epcot, and then he ended up in Walt Disney World, where he's walking around and he shows the Splash Mountain that it's now closed. And then he said, oh my gosh, for the season pass holders, it's open till 2 a.m. I'm going to hang out. So then he suddenly gets this second wind, and apparently they give out all this free popcorn when they have those late night events for special members. And he's eating all this popcorn. They're handing out all these little chocolates that look like Mickey Mouse. And his video is just remarkable to watch. His editing is remarkable. I've just blown away. But he also had the video before that one, the last log to go down Splash Mountain, the one in Florida, as it closed up last weekend. And it was, he just did so much filming, and he rode the ride like 5 times and got wet each time. And there's something obsessive about it. All of those travel bloggers or vloggers, they really, they have this, they can't, if they don't do it, they'll they kill themselves. They beat themselves up. It's like, I got to drive all the way. I got to drive the complete Route 66, and I can't miss a single part of Route 66. And speaking of Route 66, I started watching Poker Face with Natasha Lyonne, and that's pretty fascinating. It's got some language in it, and it's violent. But it's on the Peacock channel. That means NBC puts it together. And NBC brought us Columbo back in the 70s. So Natasha acts a little like Columbo. Plus, they got the font, the print at the beginning of each episode that looks like it would be a Columbo episode. But it's called Poker Face, and you find out why when you watch it. I've only seen the first 2 episodes. Adrian Brody's in it. Benjamin Bratt has a recurring character. He's chasing her, and the dialogue is pretty funny. There's some witty writing in it, but it is violent, so watch out. Watch out! He's gonna get you. Okay. Senators have blocked, or have been blocked, from viewing the documents that were seized. Yes, the documents that were seized at Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago and Joe Biden's multiple places. Senators in both parties voiced frustration after they left a closed-door briefing last week with National Intelligence Director Avril Haines, who declined to show them copies of the classified documents discovered at Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort and Joe Biden's office in Delaware home. Haines also refused to discuss the sensitive material, citing ongoing special counsel investigations, according to members of the Senate Intelligence Committee who attended the classified briefing, this from NBC. From the Hill, Senator Tom Cotton, the Republican from Arkansas, a member of the Senate Intelligence Committee, said he and other Republicans will hold up President Biden's nominees until the administration shares with Congress classified documents seized at Biden's Delaware home and Washington office and former President Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate. When I was talking about both sides doing it, I meant it in the most abstract, big picture sort of way about politicians, about how they obfuscate. And Donald Trump is the perfect politician because he likes to obfuscate. But it should be as clear as day that there are two separate situations going on here. Donald Trump had documents. The National Archives wanted them. He blocked it forever. Then there was the raid. Biden's lawyers are going through his stuff, find the documents. They immediately contact the National Archives. They come and get it. And then there's this bad housekeeping, I guess, going on with the Biden camp. But is it as bad as Donald Trump? Or is it as bad as Hillary Clinton with having classified emails on her server? And all of that being leaked through WikiLeaks. And Donald Trump going, WikiLeaks, I love WikiLeaks.
Wrong.
And I have that dropped somewhere, but I probably won't be able to find it today.
Because you'd be in jail.
New York Post said that fentanyl seizures across the U.S. southern border continue to skyrocket, with 9,400 pounds of the killer drug seized between October and December of last year. And that was a 241% increase year on year. This according to federal figures. The synthetic opioid continues to poison the country, and smugglers are eschewing other drugs to bring it in, with fentanyl busts increasing 52% month on month in December. The Republican Adam Schiff says that he's running for the Senate because he wants to take over Dianne Feinstein's position. Senator Dianne Feinstein has not yet said she is retiring. This is for 2024. He made that announcement on Thursday. The National Review says Schiff was recently removed from the House Intelligence Committee by Speaker Kevin McCarthy in response to the former's conduct as a lead investigator during the Trump impeachment hearings. Fox News says a progressive group was quick to attack Adam Schiff after he announced his bid for the seat. Adam Schiff plays the role of Trump antagonist on TV, but a recent book details how he stalled and undermined leaders trying to hold Trump accountable in Congress, and he never challenges corporations or the Democratic establishment, said Adam Green, the co-founder of the Progressive Change Campaign Committee. The U.S. operation in Somalia has killed the senior ISIS leader and 10 other ISIS members. That from CNN. And a California judge has blocked the law punishing doctors for disseminating misinformation. And this is from Reuters. A U.S. judge has blocked a California law that sought to penalize doctors who spread misinformation or disinformation about COVID-19. While he considers a pair lawsuits challenging it on free speech grounds. Senior U.S. District Judge William Shub in Sacramento ruled on Wednesday that Assembly Bill 2098, which was signed last October by California Governor Gavin Newsom, was too vague for doctors to know what kind of statements might put them at risk of being penalized. COVID-19 is a quickly evolving area of science that in many aspects eludes consensus, he wrote. And then the Intel, I know somebody that works for Intel. They're the latest tech company looking at Q1 losses. Yes, they said last week it expects to lose money in the current quarter, surprising investors with a bleaker than expected outlook for both the PC market and slowing growth in its key data center division. Its shares fell 9% in trading after the bell. And Denmark is boosting their armed forces by drafting women. This according to Bloomberg. Denmark plans compulsory military conscription for women as the Nordic country seeks to significantly boost the size of its armed forces. The move can help Denmark meet its requirements under its NATO membership. Well, it would also be beneficial for the military if it had more women employed. Jacob Ellemann-Jensen, the country's defense minister and deputy prime minister, was the one who announced this. The Daily Caller said women currently comprise less than 10% of Denmark's armed forces. Norway became the first NATO member to begin drafting women in 2015. Denmark announced last month it will increase defense spending by $660 million to hit the NATO benchmark of 2% of GDP, going toward the country's military budget. Outside a cafe anyway, somewhere in Podcastro Valley, the last place on earth. Look who's out here.
Hello, Mike Matthews. It's Chely Shoehart, gift shop supervisor. I didn't know you liked Disneyland, Mike Matthews.
Well, I went there a lot as a kid because I lived in the San Fernando Valley, and Disneyland was only about a 2-hour drive from there. So that would, and it was not screamingly expensive back then. Plus, they did not have the ridiculous exclusionary tactics that they have now, where money talks and Mickey Mouse walks away from you if you don't have the money, and you have to wait in these incredibly long lines if you don't have the money, the extra money on top of the crazy prices you pay to get into the park. It's just ridiculous. I hate it.
Okay, Mike Matthews, I was just asking. You didn't have to get all belligerent on me, Mike Matthews. Want to buy a snow globe?
No, that's okay.
Okay, you're lost. You know, they look really good with the Christmas decorations. Would you just put all away, Mike Matthews?
Okay, thanks. Great suggestion. Look who else is here. Oh, Mike, this is Floyd the Floorman. And this is John Deere, the engineer. Yes, Mike. All of that is fascinating. I think doctors should not spread misinformation about COVID-19. Well, yeah, I mean, you should get the facts from your doctor. I had COVID. I had already planned a meeting with my doctor. So, hey, doc, I was going to meet you for, my end of the year exam. What do I do? She said, let's do a video call. So I did that. And I'm like, what do I need to do? She goes, well, we can put you on that Paxil stuff. And I said, no, because even the president, he took Paxil and he had a rebound of it. Now, I will tell you now, I'm still not 100%. Still, here we are at the end of January. I'm still not 100%. And I think I just had a really bad case of it. I don't know. I'm feeling my ears still plugged up, and that might be related to the sinuses, because my sinuses really got attacked by the COVID. I don't know. I had to work while I had COVID, and I didn't get the sleep I should have gotten. So I don't know if any of that, but my doc was pretty helpful. And she doesn't like it when people do the anti-vaxxing stuff, which makes sense. But hey, you know what? I need to get out of here. I want to thank you for listening to the show today. The next podcast will have Benita, the Disgruntled Fiddle Player, and the Brewmaster. And, well, you can call me if you want to complain or maybe add something. We love your calm and not so comments. And you can email me as well. But to call me, you can call the number, which I forgot. Oh, yeah, 510-228-4640, 510-228-4640. And you can email me, and with all that information, it's A5.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com. Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye!